Alright guys, yesterday, late my time actually, it was around 1 o'clock in the afternoon my time, CIG has dropped 3.18 for PTU. So the reason why this is different is while it's still technically a playtest, they are now also testing the features that are also in the game as well. So, database 3.18.0, strongly recommended players delete their user folder and shader folder. Database reset, yes. Servers region is still US servers only. Long-term persistence is not available. Pledge copied is disabled. Current build is under NDA, doesn't bother us. Right, so testing focus. So the testing focus is now PES playtest, which is obviously ongoing testing. But the big things, Gen12 rendering. Okay, it was in. They made it. Fantastic. Salvage, Vulture and Reclaimer. Ship, Soft Death, and the playtest length. Depending on this build and stability, they'd like to leave this up overnight or longer. Please avoid Lawville in this build as there are multiple issues blocking players from travelling to the city. Good news everybody, Gen 12 rendering is now fully enabled as of this build. If you run into any issues you believe that are related to this, please report them in the issue council and as descriptive as possible with the hardware configuration. Objective, another special build for data testing with Amit, Paul and Bento. This will be watching the build to gather all the data they can at the most recent changes to the network and stability crash fixes. If the build provides stable, I'd like to hear from players to explore and test their new features. This will include the Vulture, Salvage, Gen 12, because hull scraping, Gen 12 may cause hull scraping to not display correctly. Ship, Soft Death, racetrack sites with the trial missions, Gen 12 renderer, bounties, cargo deliveries, and more. If your character gets into a bad state and is unable to rejoin the PTU, as you see a 30,009 error, please wait 5 to 10 minutes and if the issue persists, then re-copy your account. Salvage, hull scraping. First implementation of salvage into the persistent universe, which includes both hull stripping as well as repair. Thank God, because I need it for the machinima. This includes both performing hull stripping and repairs by hand, as well as hull stripping using the systems aboard the Drake Vulture and the Aegis Reclaimer. Now, the Vulture is on display at the IAE. I did see it. I did have a look around it. It looks great. It looks like a standard one-seater salvage ship. But yeah, you can't rent it. I tried. Sorry. Where did I get up to? Right. As highly advanced compression technology, these tools can break down the ship and vehicle's exteriors, converting them into recycled material composite, or RMC, then store them into canister attached. The player then has the option to either use this material to repair their ship using the FPS multi-tool by filling in damaged areas that they can sell this material as a commodity. Along with being able to salvage player ships, players will also be able to scan and find salvageable ships and wrecks among the asteroids, like in the rings of Yella. So, spoilers, go to Yella. Vehicle hull scraping. So, salvaging while the vehicle is in a mode like mining. So, salvaging while in a vehicle is a mode like mining. Okay, yeah. To be able to scrape the hull of the newly found wreck, and the target must have its shields turned off. Indicator in the UI performs about the shield status. Player to enter the exit salvage, hit M. Player to enter and exit salvage mode, hit M. Okay. Default keybind. Players can then click onto the cycle through the attachment beam into the sub-item slot. By left-clicking, players can activate and deactivate the scraper beam. There are 2 modes players can be in while salvaging by pressing G, default binding, convergence and fixed. Fixed is like weapons and points the beams directly where the player aims, and convergence is where you sort of like squiggle around and draw lines on your ships. Left alt plus mouse wheel will move convergent points, while left alt plus right click will switch between vertical and horizontal. It kind of sounds a little janky with the convergence. I would have thought they would have just made it sort of like the mouse free look option, but whatever, we'll see how it goes. Players need to manually remove filed storage boxes from the ship's salvaging area and using a handheld tractor beam and move them to the ship's cargo grid to convert it into RMC canisters for repairing. FPS hull scraping and repair. To utilize FPS hull scraping, players first need to acquire the Grin tool, multi-tool, the salvage and repair model for it, and the ammunition canister from the salvage and repair model. This will, as will ship hull scraping, players will be able to strip away the hull of the ship while its shields are down. The store and the recycled material RMC in the canister. Players can recycle between salvage and repair modes by pressing B, default option, the keyboard, which allows them to enter scraping or use color materials to repair the hull. So one thing I will notice about this is there's no mention of cargo refactor. I'm not sure if that's because that is already just built into it or anything, but obviously, yeah. Known issues. So it's not a complete list, but interaction area for several different site kiosk offsets around the terminal. Pharmacy purchases result in failed invalid location error. Restriction areas around Lawville now are physical and blocking access to the hangars of Tisa Spaceport. Ships spawning in damaged state despite full health. Character customizer stuck on saving character. Multi-vehicle VMA vehicle unable to customize any ship with the VMA. Ship vehicles are Cryastra services does not offer the option to repair, refuel, or restock. Infinite load. If the player idles while playing, 30,028 error, it will cause an infinite load, either returning to the main menu or attempting to restart. Inventory. Loot boxes. Loot boxes will disappear on approach after opening. Inventory equipment items are lost from character after 30k. Oh, that's bad. Quantum travel. QT markers disappear while traveling between planet marker until the QT drive finishes spoiling. Locations. Hurston, Lovell. Commodity kiosks UI may become blurry and ineligible while in use. Multiple locations. Active feature UI. Medical. Players unable to heal injuries in medbed. Oof. Locations, Lawville. When loading into Lawville and after the exiting the bed, the player will be pulled in a direction unable to move. Right. Mining. Vehicles are not collecting ore when using extraction mode. Right. Security post Cryer. Security AI are not spawning in their correct loadouts, causing them to cower and surrender. Oh wow. Mission reputation is not updating upon mission complete. Commodity trading selling UI. Commodities will now appear in the commodity kiosk and cannot be sold. And commodity cargo kiosk UI. When attempting to purchase cargo at the commodity kiosks, no supply demand commodity listing displayed for the player to interact with. So at the end of the day, guys, look, obviously there's not a lot of areas. Considering it's only, patch EF? I would say it's actually not a lot. Yeah. Depending on how the test goes, obviously, as to when we get it. I would say probably end of next week. Maybe. They might, I'll tell you what, they might hit the 8th deadline. If we get it end of next week, that'll be around the 26th. Wider PTU on the 3rd. Release on the 8th. It might make the 8th. They might make it. Depending on how much more's got to be added. far as I know, this is not the complete list, so there's a lot of other stuff that needs to be added. Like, for example, cargo refactors not mentioned, bunker missions, you know, those outposts and stuff hasn't been mentioned about them being put in, so I don't know if they're in there or not, depending on what needs to be added. But yeah, they might make the 8th, but considering it's PES, I would much rather them take some extra time. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night. Enjoy.